The company synonymous with global digital creativity didn't start by building creative tools at all. Today, Adobe is a sprawling multi-billion-dollar empire headquartered in San Jose, California, effectively functioning as the default engine for the global creator economy. In 1982, founders John Warnock and Charles Geschke weren't trying to help artists paint on screens. They were trying to solve a much more mundane problem in Silicon Valley. In the early 80s, computers were incapable of efficiently translating complex digital layouts with different fonts and shapes into instructions that a printer could actually understand and reproduce on paper. Adobe was originally founded simply to be the invisible plumbing between a desktop computer and a piece of physical paper. Their solution was a technology called PostScript. It was a page description language, essentially a mathematical translator that took the digital data on a screen and mapped it out so any compatible machine could print it perfectly. This code caught the attention of Apple, who adopted PostScript as the core brain for their early printing hardware, specifically the LaserWriter. Combining Apple's user-friendly hardware with Adobe's highly accurate printing software meant that regular businesses could design and print professional-grade documents entirely in-house. As a direct result, the desktop publishing industry exploded. By establishing the standard for how digital media was printed, Adobe ultimately gained the perfect vantage point to build the tools used to create that media in the first place. In 1990, Adobe launched Photoshop. It gave users the ability to manipulate pixels on a screen with total precision, and it quickly became the global standard for photo editing. They expanded rapidly. Illustrator allowed designers to build scalable vector logos, and by 1993, Adobe released the PDF. This solved the chaotic problem of document exchange by creating a single, universal format that looked exactly the same on any device. As the internet matured, Adobe secured its grip on the web by acquiring Macromedia in 2005. This purchase handed them control over the era's dominant multimedia tools, namely Flash and Dreamweaver. To lock in professional users, Adobe aggressively bundled these disparate tools into the unified, high-priced package known as the Creative Suite. By the late 2000s, almost every professional design workflow ran through Adobe software. But relying on physical, boxed software created a period of financial and technical stagnation. The old model was hitting its limits. Buying a physical box of discs cost hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars up front. Updates were painfully slow to roll out, and the underlying code for each program remained separate. Starting in 2011, Adobe made a massive structural bet. They killed the physical discs entirely and moved their entire catalog to a subscription model, the Creative Cloud. The financial logic is clear. Jagged lines represent volatile boxed software sales, while the smooth curve shows compounding growth from subscriptions. Beyond finances, continuous internet updates allowed Adobe to link their standalone programs into a central hub. Despite initial heavy backlash from users, this subscription pivot secured the company's financial future and laid the necessary digital infrastructure for their next technological leap. With the Creative Cloud, user data, assets, and workflows became permanently synced across devices. This connectivity allowed Adobe to expand past traditional art and video editing. They moved into corporate infrastructure, releasing tools like Adobe XD to help developers design interactive user experiences for apps and websites. They pushed even further into the back end of the internet with the Experience Cloud, a suite of tools focused entirely on digital marketing, user tracking, and heavy data analytics. Adobe has evolved from a supplier of creative tools into a provider of foundational infrastructure, effectively building the digital factory floor for modern enterprise. By the 2020s, that vast interconnected network became the perfect training ground for automation. Adobe introduced Sensei, their foundational engine for artificial intelligence, built to handle repetitive tasks behind the scenes. In 2023, they made that intelligence highly visible. The release of Adobe Firefly brought generative AI directly into the hands of creators. Because they already owned the cloud ecosystem, Adobe injected these AI capabilities directly into the toolbars of programs that millions of professionals were already using. While standalone AI image generators often act as isolated systems, Firefly is an integrated utility. It is designed to accelerate a human designer's specific intent rather than replacing it. Over 40 years, Adobe has navigated 3 distinct corporate lives. They started by writing the hidden code that made printers work, evolved into the dominant software suite of the desktop era, and finally rebuilt themselves as a massive AI-driven cloud platform. They have survived and thrived by continuously transforming into the operating system for human imagination.